This week on ANN, support for a Muslim woman in a workplace religious freedom case.
Marking 1 year of evangelism in New York City.
And an Adventist family is determined to find Talika Patrick, who went missing earlier this month.
These stories and more, coming up.
This is ANN, a service of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church. Thanks so much for joining us this week.
First in the news, the Adventist Church is supporting a Muslim woman in a workplace religious freedom case that pits the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission against clothing retailer Abercrombie & Fitch. Samantha Eloff says she was denied a sales job at an Abercrombie kids store in the U.S. state of Oklahoma because her job violated store policy. While a federal judge initially sided with Eloff, the U.S. 10th Circuit Court of Appeals recently overturned that decision. Adventist legal experts say the new ruling sets a troubling precedent that could allow employers to avoid making accommodations for religious employees. The Adventist Church filed an amicus, or friend of the court brief, last week in support of Eloff's petition for rehearing.
An attack on any person of faith in the workplace is really an attack on all of us. The Seventh-day Adventist Church thinks it's important to stand for the rights of every individual, because who will then stand for us? We believe it's important to support the rights of all people, of all faiths, because one day, as Seventh-day Adventists, we will need people to stand for us.
Adventist Church President Ted Wilson led out in 3 events last weekend, marking a year of evangelism in America's largest metropolis. New York City and the surrounding area was home to New York 13, the first in a series of Mission to the Cities events. This year's outreach meetings, prayer ministries, community service, and health seminars in New York City are expected to serve as the basis for comprehensive evangelism worldwide. Adventist evangelist Mark Finley joined Wilson for a Sabbath afternoon program called Celebrating Christ at Christmas, Rejoicing in the Harvest. Finley expressed gratitude for what he said was a remarkable year of church growth in the metro region. Wilson reminded Adventists to shine like the star in Bethlehem, pointing to Jesus. He told church members gathered for the event not to allow commercialism to distract them from the true meaning of Christmas.
Members of the Trinity Temple Adventist Church in the U.S. state of Michigan held a candlelight vigil this week for missing member Talika Patrick. The 30-year-old medical resident disappeared on December 5. Law enforcement officers found her car abandoned in a ditch later that night. Immediate and ongoing searches of the area failed to turn up evidence. Patrick is originally from Queens, New York, and is a recent graduate of Adventist-owned Loma Linda University in the U.S. state of California. Her family released a statement last week asking for prayers and help in raising awareness, adding, "We need a miracle and we need your help."
A disaster relief team from Loma Linda University Health partnered with the Adventist Development and Relief Agency this month to conduct recovery efforts in the Philippines. The country is still reeling in the wake of Typhoon Haiyan. Power has been restored to less than 1% of Tacloban, a key business hub, and thousands are still missing. The Loma Linda team helped conduct assessments and coordinate address response in some of the hardest hit areas. Adventist-owned Loma Linda University Health has a long tradition of global outreach and partnership.
The Adventist Church on the campus of Newbold College in the United Kingdom hosted a live nativity this month. Hundreds of community members took the guided tour, enjoying a reenactment of the part of the Christmas story at each display, from the 3 wise men to the birth of Jesus. The second annual nativity at Newbold Adventist Church included live animals and more than 150 actors and other volunteers. Church leaders say the event provides a unique opportunity to introduce the community to the church.
And finally, in the news this week, Nelson Mandela was buried in his hometown of Kunu on Sunday. Sid Media sent this tribute to the late South African statesman and icon of social justice.
We pay tribute to one who was more than one of the greatest leaders of our time. And he will continue to remain a hero and leader who will inspire generations to come. Words will never begin to express the depth of our sorrow for the loss of Dr. Nelson Mandela. Our hearts grieve with the family of our beloved former president, Dr. Nelson Mandela. In our hearts, we will always remember a champion of unity in diversity and freedom for all, regardless of their cultural, language, ethnic, or religious background. Dr. Mandela has been a powerful inspiration to millions of people around the world for the strength of character he showed in the face of one of the world's most brutal regimes and his enduring power to accept and forgive his former oppressors. Yet, without grief for his loss, we also celebrate the life of a world icon, remarkable leader, and father of a democratic rainbow nation, South Africa, which will always remain a testament of the sacrifice of one whom God used to unify South Africa. Together with the almost 20 million members of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, we will continue to uphold the Madiba family in prayer, knowing that only God will bring peace and comfort during this time of pain and grief. The death of Dr. Nelson Mandela reminds us once again that we are indeed involved in a great controversy, and we look forward to the second coming of Jesus Christ, when good will triumph over evil and an end to pain, suffering, and death will be realized.
Coming up, a preview of the December issue of Ministry Magazine.
Suddenly, there was a great level of peace in the land, so to speak. I mean, people felt a sense of relief and awe that this had actually happened and nobody believed it. And I know that this would never have happened if I decided to not pray. My name is John, and my prayer was answered.
Coming to the Hope Channel in January 2014.
As I was reading through The Great Hope, this caught my attention. God did listen to the cries of his servants. He gave to princes and ministers grace and courage to maintain the truth against the rulers of the darkness of this world. The Protestant reformers had built on Christ, and the gates of hell could not prevail against them. Here's why this brings me hope. In the days of the Reformation, during the turmoil and the struggle and the persecution, God did listen to the prayers of his servants, and he protected them. God listens to his followers today, and he gives us grace and courage, and hell cannot prevail against us.
I was once in the Chinese city of Shanghai. It was a rainy day as I looked out from my 10th floor hotel window. Beneath me, colorful umbrellas without legs were scurrying to and fro. Where were they coming from? Where were they going? Under each umbrella I imagined a father, a mother, a grandfather. Did they know about Jesus? I'm not sure, but I'm glad Jesus knows about them.
Welcome back. Ministry isn't all preaching and teaching. This month's issue of Ministry Magazine explores the importance of listening. Willie Hucks has a preview.
When my wife and I married, one of the first plans we implemented was that of having morning and evening worship. Before we left for our jobs each day, we took time to pray, and in the evening we came together to read from the Bible and take more time to pray. As the years progressed and the family grew, as well as our responsibilities both inside and outside the home, we found ourselves redefining our home worship experience. Worship was now about 3 people, then 4. And as each child matured, we gave them increased roles in leading out during prayer times. Before we knew it, my wife and I were no longer spending the same amount and quality of time together, just the 2 of us, spiritually nurturing ourselves. It made more sense to us to think as a family of 4 rather than a couple of 2. We failed to realize that the 2 concepts were not mutually exclusive. In the lead article for January, Karen Holford acknowledges the challenges that husbands and wives face, different work schedules and preferred worship times, to name just a few. And she shares ways by which we can strengthen the spiritual connection with God in our marriages by implementing throughout the day several practical suggestions that creatively enhance our time spent in prayer and study of God's Word. Such spiritual intimacy goes a long way toward enabling husband and wife to effectively minister to each other as life's challenges always swirl around us. In another article in this upcoming issue, Larry Yeagley speaks of a different yet similar connection. He speaks of the importance of listening as we minister. Those of us who are pastors have been trained in the art of speaking, but taking the time to actively listen becomes a challenge for many of us. Investing our time and energies in patiently allowing others to share their thoughts is often the greatest form of ministry we can render. In addition, we also are publishing several articles of a theological and biblical nature.
Mission offerings help members of the New River Adventist Church in the West Central African country of Benin build a new place to worship. Adventist Mission sent this report.
Around the world, Seventh-day Adventists congregate to worship, sing, pray, and learn about Jesus, who unites his people with ties of love. Every Sabbath, in a church, under a tree, at a neighbor's house, you and I come together as brother and sister as we wait for our Savior's soon return. Whether our meeting place is conventional or very untraditional, we unite our efforts in love to support each other. This Sabbath, one church sings a brighter note. With grateful hearts, the River Church raises their voices to God and thanks their brothers and sisters across the waters. The members here received your offering of love in 2007. With willing spirits and zeal in the heart, they began to build a new chapter in the history of this aquatic village. In 2007, worship was conducted in a simple place built on stilts. During dry season, members walked here to learn about God. This is Francis. He is a global mission pioneer. You have helped sponsor Francis to share the gospel with this village. You have also sponsored construction of the New River Church. Since then, more people have accepted Jesus. More lives have been changed in this community. There are even more church buildings going up, 3 buildings in total. You can visit them by boat or wait to meet your fellow Adventist brothers and sisters in the kingdom. The New River Church members say thank you for your support of Adventist Mission.
The Adventist Church and other faith groups are calling on the Obama administration to appoint a new top advisor for international religion.
The International Religious Liberty Association recently joined a multi-faith letter sent to President Obama urging him to swiftly appoint a new ambassador at large for international religious freedom to replace the departing ambassador Susan Johnson Cook. As the principal advisor to the President and the Secretary of State regarding matters affecting religious freedom abroad, having the position filled with an influential and capable advocate is extremely important. This letter, signed by a group of 44 organizations, scholars, religious leaders, and human rights advocates, specifically urges the President to consider a nominee that understands international religious freedom as a multidisciplinary issue that cuts across human rights, economics, media, security, business, and other relevant sectors. The ambassador's experience and worldview should reflect this broad and interrelated awareness of religious freedom. Only in bringing together a diversity of voices that are willing to listen and consider all viewpoints will the ambassador at large expand the appeal and relevance of religious freedom in the United States and worldwide. Towards that end, the signers of this letter believe that the new ambassador at large should continue to diligently promote and report on religious freedom and work cooperatively with the non-governmental organization community, the U.S. Congress, and other federal agencies and stakeholders to find new and innovative ways to promote the inherent dignity of every human, as proclaimed in Article 18 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Adventist chaplains give the gifts of grace, healing, and hope during the Christmas season and all year round. Gary Council explains.
Giving and Christmas have become almost interchangeable words. Often giving is predicated on expecting something, getting. What if giving occurred all year round without expecting something in return? 500 Adventist chaplains in North America, wise men and women, modern magi, give ministry freely to those in need. They give the gifts of grace for the fallen, healing for the hurting, and hope for those suffering to countless thousands. Chaplains give all year round through pastoral counseling, ministry of presence, responding to life's interruptions of emergencies in the midnight hours, or braving dangers with those who serve in uniform. They also receive joy from serving, satisfaction from helping, and even an occasional smile, handshake, hug, or note of appreciation. Adventist Chaplaincy Ministries, the ecclesiastical endorsing agency of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, provides chaplains with gifts of religious and professional materials, training conferences, and support throughout the year. These gifts help chaplains share goodwill, peace on earth, and the good news of a Savior born to willingly give His life for whosoever will believe, that they may receive His gift of life everlasting. Merry Christmas and Happy 2014.
Still ahead, when to shut off those electronic devices.
But up next, training young businesswomen to minister to their clients.
Our three adventurers, Kezia from Kenya, Casilla from Brazil, and Gabi from Germany, go out to sea on an ocean safari. Within minutes, they come across southern right whales and learn more about these majestic creatures. Whales were hunted almost to extinction. Now they have made a comeback, or have they? Coming to the Hope Channel in January 2014.
All around the world, Seventh-day Adventists are reading a chapter of the Bible per day. We call it Revived by His Word. With the new free iPhone and iPad apps, you can join in and read the daily chapter on your device, highlight verses and share them with your friends via email and Twitter, and follow the daily feeds. And you can do this in English, Spanish, or Portuguese. Get your free Revived by His Word app now.
The clay feels like it's one continuous form flowing from my mind to my hand to my tool right to the sculpture that I'm working on. And that's being in the zone, that's being lost in the creative process. And that to me is a gift of God. I used to think it was exclusive to creative people like art and music, but I've talked to lawyers, I've talked to doctors who completely get lost in their work, and all of a sudden we realize that we are going to the same place that God used Himself in order to create earth. I think as human beings, we're incomplete unless we learn to experience that, unless we pursue that experience of knowing what God felt like to create. And He didn't give that gift to dolphins and dogs, as wonderful animals as they are. He gave it to humans, and it fulfills, I think, part of who we are.
The Great Controversy Project. Oh, it's difficult for me to say that word, project, because it is far more than a project to me. It is a movement in itself, like a movement within a movement. Don't wait for someone to come to you to ask you for it. Go, seek them out, and share the Great Controversy.
I pray for me to listen, learn more about Jesus, and read more about the Bible. My grandma's cat is old and I don't want it to die. I pray for that. I pray for my family. Please pray at 7 in the morning, 7 in the evening, 7 days a week.
Welcome back. Adventist entrepreneurs in Malaysia are using their businesses as a platform for ministry. Raquel Ahais explains.
Stella Hong, a member of the Penang English Adventist Church in Malaysia, had a dream to train young people to use their livelihood as a platform for sharing the gospel in China. Hong wanted to use her skills as international consultant and training in beauty and complementary therapies and her experience as managing director of 3 schools in Malaysia. The aim was to equip a group of 16-20 church members in each of 4 locations in China with skills in massage and cosmetology. Since many Adventist congregations are doing outreach to renting out their facilities for wedding, bridal makeup, and hairstyling was included in the curriculum. Armed with new beauty skills, these urban missionaries are rubbing shoulders with all kinds of people, making friends, meeting their needs right where they are, and then have spiritual conversations with them. Those who set up their own independent business are gaining entrance into homes that will never open their doors to colporteurs or pastors. The church pastors encourages the group to plan for their own future. The leader in the first group reports, all 16 of us intend to reach the people of Beijing with the love of Christ using these skills. The women are confident that if they persist in spending time every day in the presence of God to drink in the Holy Spirit, God will accomplish far beyond what we ask or think, just as He has promised.
On this week's Tech Corner, John Beckett has advice on setting parental controls on mobile devices.
I'm sure a lot of kids have at the top of their birthday or Christmas wish list some sort of an iPod, an iPad, or an Android. Many kids also get hand-me-down electronics from their parents. The challenge then becomes, how do you choose what your child can do with the device? Here are a few things to think about. First of all, make sure that app and in-app purchases require a password. Also make sure that your child doesn't know this password and tell them that if they happen to discover it, they're not allowed to use it because it lets them spend real money. Second, think about whether you want to allow web browsing and discover how you can turn it off or filter it. On Apple devices, you'll want to thoroughly explore the restrictions area found under the general settings. You can turn off things that you don't want your child to be able to use. For newer Androids, explore the user's settings area and set up an additional profile for your child and a PIN for the master account. You can then choose which applications your child profile has access to. I don't personally have a Kindle to test with, but from what I see on Amazon's site, it looks like Amazon may have the best tools available for younger children. You may want to research further their Kindle Free Time app. The Amazon's child management tools only work on Kindles. To help manage which sites are available, you may also want to look into OpenDNS.com's free services for home users. Finally, if you're really sure your child will keep the device you've chosen for them, take it out of the box, set it up, explore it, and charge it before you turn it off and wrap it up.
Do you suffer from insomnia or daytime fatigue? As Peter Landless reports on this week's health feature, how you prepare for bedtime can determine how well you sleep.
One of the questions people ask much of the time is, did you sleep well? And you know, most of the time we say, of course I did. But we look at each other, sometimes bags under the eyes, yawning in meetings, not paying attention, focusing or not focusing, and often it relates to the fact that we have not slept well. Well, how do you sleep well? Very easy. You put yourself in the environment of sleep at the right time. Regular time of going to bed, in a cool environment. Make sure that the room is dark. You want to have nice curtains so that you can keep the room dark and get ready for sleep at the right time. Also, you want to avoid stimulating things like going through your cell phone at the last minute before going to sleep. You want to make sure you're not watching television programs before you go to bed, and avoid drinking things which are stimulating at all times, but especially avoid any caffeine or caffeine-containing substances 6 hours before going to sleep. And then have regularity of time. Don't use the evening as the time to sort out all those problems and relationship issues and arguments. Make sure that you bring yourself into a time of meditation, calm, prayer, get to bed at a regular time, cool room, straight to bed, 6, 7, 8 hours, and you'll be as fresh as a daisy. Try it. You'll enjoy it.
Now let's turn to David Trim for a look at Adventist history. This week, the First Adventist Church in San Francisco's Chinatown.
Welcome to This Week in Adventist History. On December 16 in 1950, a Seventh-day Adventist church was organized in the largest Chinese community in the United States, San Francisco's Chinatown. On December 18 in 1901, the Greater New York Conference, covering much of metropolitan New York City, was organized by church leaders in the Atlantic Union. On December 19 in 1865, William A. Spicer was born in Freeborn, Minnesota. One of the most influential church leaders, he is the only person to have held both the two highest offices in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, serving as Secretary of the General Conference for 19 years and President for 8, and his 27 years as one of the 3 officers of the General Conference are a record. Spicer had served as a missionary to Britain and to India, and he was a visionary of global Adventist mission. He helped to create a truly worldwide church. On December 20 in 1849, William Miller died in Lowhampton, New York, having sadly never accepted the Seventh-day Sabbath, Christ's ministry in the heavenly sanctuary, or the conditional immortality of the soul. And on December 21 in 1967, Florence M. Kidder died at age 82. She was then in her 65th consecutive year of teaching in Adventist elementary schools. Our history is full of unsung heroes like Florence Kidder. Thanks for watching This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
In the meantime, check out the Adventist Church Facebook page at facebook.com/theadventistchurch. We're posting new versions of the Take the Gift series with Adventist President Ted Wilson all throughout December. These Christmas gifts are a great way to share your faith during the holiday season.
Our good news for this week comes from the New Testament book of John. The passage says, "The Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.